Good morning, everyone. I am the Business Information Librarian at Mid-Continent Public Library. I work with a team called Square One Small Business Services. We are actually expanding into doing career services now, so our name is getting kind of unwieldy. We kind of just go by Square One now, but we help businesses with whatever problems they have, however the library can help them. So could be things like working on a business plan, helping with customer market research, researching your competition, setting up an LLC, setting up a social media page. Those are just a few of the examples that I'll be talking about today. But I wanted to quickly just give you an introduction to the library. If you don't know, Mid-Continent Public Library is one of the biggest library systems in the U.S. It's actually the largest library system in the KC metro area. Another cool thing about the libraries in the metro area is we all have reciprocal agreements. So if you can get a library card with us, you can get one with all the other library systems. So if there's ever anything Mid-Continent doesn't have, you might check out Johnson County or Kansas City Public or Kansas City, Kansas. We have reciprocal agreements with all those folks. We have 30 branches in Clay, Platte, and Jackson County, actually more than 30 now. The East Independence branch is going to be opening up shortly. I think we have the groundbreaking within like a week or two. We serve roughly 800,000 people. It's the 19th largest public library system in the country. So pretty awesome that you live in a part of the country that has one of the best library systems. And we put on 10,000 live programs per year. That's not just Square One, but the entire library. So everything from, book groups to story times for kids to the services we offer. We also have the Story Center over in Liberty at the Woodneath Library Center. If you haven't had a chance to check that out, it's a beautiful location. Midwest Genealogy Center in Independence. Those are kind of our mission enhancements. Square One is part of the mission enhancement programs at the library, kind of doing, a little bit more than what a traditional library, does with just checking out books and that sort of thing. But of course we do that as well. We are a program that is funded in part by the Kauffman Foundation. So about when we got started roughly 6.5 years ago, actually it's probably about 7 now, we were already doing some small business services at the library, but it was, programs here or there and, maybe some help pointing people to other organizations, but not really a whole lot. But then we did a business boot camp and somehow Kauffman got a hold of that information and they approached us about expanding what we were doing to kind of offer that sort of thing more often, hire better speakers, get better databases. And so we are in part funded by the Kauffman Foundation, which means we have grant requirements. So if you ever get like a one-on-one with me or go to one of our programs, we'll have surveys that are part of those grant requirements. But if that grant were to go away, the services at the library would stick around. We would just kind of scale back a little bit. So I am a library employee, just to clarify that, because some people are like, is Square One part of the library or is it a separate thing? But it's just kind of like a brand within the library or a department within the library. So yeah, that's how that works. History of Square One, I kind of mentioned with the Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation. Small businesses we serve, so we kind of have 4 groups of businesses, and this comes from the Kauffman grant as well. They asked us to track what stage businesses are at when they meet with us, and so we kind of group them into these 4 categories. The first is the discovery and idea phase. This is for people who maybe have a vague inkling that they want to go into business. They may not even have a good idea of what kind of business they want to go into. I've actually met with people who've said, I want to be in business, I don't know what I want to do, can you help me come up with some ideas? So we can even help with that sort of thing. But a lot of the people we meet with are in this discovery and idea phase because the library is a really safe place to explore business. You can kind of dip your toe in and there's not a whole lot of commitment or a whole lot of intimidating folks to be around. And so we get a lot of people who maybe have never even considered being in business, and maybe they want to start out by doing an Etsy shop, or maybe they want to start out by doing, handyman services, or, babysitting, whatever the case may be. Startup phase would be somebody who was able to figure out how to actually form the business, form an LLC, or whatever type of business entity they chose, but maybe they don't have any revenue yet. So they wanted to set up an eBay store, but they don't really have a real plan on how to expand that. But they got to the point where they formed the LLC. That's another big one we meet with. Growth phase, that's for folks who have had some money coming in, but aren't quite at that stable phase yet. The way Kauffman kind of categorizes them is if they're below 50% of expenses in revenue, then they're in that growth phase. And then if you're above 50%, if your revenue is above 50% of your expenses, then you're in that stable phase. So we tend to work with the first three more than the fourth one. Doesn't mean that we wouldn't help somebody in the stable phase, but usually if they're in the stable phase, they don't need as much help. They're kind of just chugging along, and they're not really looking for anybody's help. They've kind of figured it out. So, but we are there for those folks as well. Some of the resources you can get at the library, business databases are probably one of my favorite ways to use the library. You don't actually have to be present in the library to use these. So as long as you have an internet connection and a library card, you can get access to all of our business databases. I think there may be one or two that you have to access in the branch, but most of those I think are like genealogy, ancestry.com, that kind of thing. We have full color digital reproductions of magazines like Entrepreneur, Fast Company. We also have the Kansas City Star, Kansas City Business Journal. If you've ever seen the Book of Lists, that's a really cool publication they put out every year. You can access databases that have grant opportunities. So if you know somebody who has a nonprofit and would be interested in grant opportunities, there's a database called Grant Select where you can look through all kinds of different opportunities and search based on different criteria, when the date to submit is, and all that kind of stuff. Law Depot is another database that gets a lot of use. That's almost like LegalZoom, where you can create your own legal documents. It's kind of a DIY legal document database. So it'll ask you a bunch of questions, and then as you answer them, it builds this legal document for you that's been vetted by a team of lawyers. So things like service agreements, HR forms, even getting in beyond business law into like estate and family law and that kind of thing. Yeah, do you have a question?
What was the name of that one?
Law Depot. Yeah, and there's another one called Missouri Legal Forms Library that has a lot more stuff, but it's all just Microsoft Word documents that you download, and it's kind of like a template form. So it's not quite as easy to use, but you have more like examples in that one. So that one has probably hundreds of different documents that you can download that are specific to different types of businesses. So it might be like a model release form for a photography business or something like that. But yeah, great question. If anybody else has questions, feel free to interrupt me. Financial ratings, that's another one where you can look up, the strength of banks, credit unions, other kind of financial institutions. Just a sample of some of the business databases you can access with your library card. Oops. Oh, there we go. So some of the other things you can access with the library card, we have a database that has sample business plans. It is part of the Business Plans Handbook, which is a 50-volume set of real business plans from actual companies that you can look at and see what somebody else put in their business plan. Usually that's really helpful for folks who are getting started who may not know what to budget for different kind of expenses, or to how to have a kind of a growth plan for their business, what kind of market research to do. They can go in and look at somebody else's business plan and get kind of an idea of what is appropriate to put in your own business plan. Market research, so there's all kinds of databases that have these industry reports that will talk about, the market share of different companies, what is the industry growing or is it shrinking, what are the trends in consumer behavior, what kind of laws are affecting the industry, all kinds of things like that. Advertising trends, we have somebody who is only doing social media stuff on our team, so I meet with folks to kind of help with the research piece of their business, whatever that may be. We also have somebody on the team who just meets with folks to do social media help. So she's really well aware of all the kind of new trends happening in the world of social media. I don't know if anybody's been following the kind of AI boom that's been happening recently, but it's really kind of shaking things up in the marketing world. Canva, for instance, I just heard an ad on the way over here about you can have it create a jingle for you that rhymes for your business. So there's all kinds of new cool things out there with AI, and she's well aware of all that. Financial templates, so if you're looking for kind of help in how to go about doing your own finances or kind of own bookkeeping, we have resources to help with that as well. And then the one-on-one meetings, there we go. Typically those are an hour long. We can meet with you either in person or over Zoom. Doesn't have to be an hour, can be less, however much time you need. We are a mobile team, so we can meet at any one of the branches. So if it's easier for you to come to a branch, a lot of people like to meet in person, that's totally okay. I get reimbursed for traveling to all over, the 3 counties, so I don't mind. But yeah, you can have as many one-on-one meetings as you want. They're all free. Typically what we'll do in those meetings is look at whatever problem you're trying to tackle and see how library databases could help with that, or what kind of information we can find on the web that could help with that. Sometimes it may be that I connect you with somebody else. So a lot of times people are looking for a business mentor. That's not really my role. My role is kind of to help people find the information they need to make the decision for their business themselves. I tend not to provide too much in the way of strategy or critique of business plans. I'm kind of just there to help and encourage. But I do think it's important to find a business mentor if you're looking for that. So I might point folks to SCORE or Porterhouse KC or some of the other organizations in the KC metro area that can provide that kind of help. I may even send somebody to the Independence Chamber if they're, looking to get connected with the community here. So we try and, point folks to the right resource depending on what kind of help people are looking for. You can have as many follow-ups as you need after you've met with me. If you have a quick question that you want to just ask over email, that's totally fine too, or give me a call. So you don't have to set up a one-on-one for everything. We do have a Calendly form on our website where you can schedule with us. So it'll be on the main Square One page if you go to the library. So some of the one-on-one topics that we talk about could be a SWOT analysis of your business's social media. So Elena, who's our social media person, may have you pull up your Facebook for Business page and see what kind of engagement you're getting, what kind of things you're posting. Do you have an Instagram account up? Are you doing anything on TikTok? Are you engaging with people on YouTube? All those kinds of things that you may not even be aware of, that social media platforms pop up all the time and some of them go away. And so she's younger and kind of knows a lot about what the newest trends are in social media. And so yeah, she is a great resource for that. We have databases that can help you find more customers. So something that I've done with folks, we have a database where you can look up people based on their interests or their home value or all kinds of other criteria, and then you can send them email marketing blasts, or I've even worked with folks to do postcard mailers for lawn care services. So if you want to kind of have a more targeted approach to reaching people, our databases can work really well for that. If you go through the post office, a lot of times they'll just have a blanket approach where it's everybody in a zip code you kind of target. We can actually get more specific with the names and addresses that you would send these marketing pieces to. So Yeah, and then also any kind of pain points that you have in your business. So whether that's trying to retain good talent for workers or, tax help, all that kind of stuff. Any kind of problem you might be having with your business, chances are you having more information will probably help you. So online learning, that's another big piece of what we offer at the library. So we have databases where you can take free classes in business topics, as well as if you're trying to pick up creative skills like photography or website design. LinkedIn Learning, has anybody ever used LinkedIn Learning before? So it's a really awesome program and a very good value you get with your library card. I think it's like $30 a month or something if you try and buy it an individual subscription, but it's usually like 2-hour-long courses or less, geared towards beginner, intermediate, or advanced, and everything from QuickBooks and Microsoft Excel to the principles behind social media marketing to kind of high-level business concepts like strategizing or your operations management, things like that. So it's a great way to kind of pick up some core business knowledge. We also have Udemy Business, which is really strong in other languages. So if you have Spanish speakers who want to watch classes in Spanish, that's a great one for that. I mentioned web design and WordPress. A lot of times I'll get folks who are looking for help with setting up their own website. We don't do too many classes Square One doesn't do too many classes that are specifically on how to set up your own website. We would tend to point folks to LinkedIn Learning or something else like that to help kind of walk them along on that process. And yeah, great classes on entrepreneurship foundations. One of the ones that I really like is called the Entrepreneurial Mindset Training Course. It's kind of geared towards people who are in that discovery phase, who maybe haven't really thought too much about what it takes to be in business. And it's kind of geared towards helping you develop an entrepreneurial mindset. And so it's got all these interviews with entrepreneurs who kind of started out from pretty modest circumstances and grew their business quite a lot. So like the guy from 1-800-GOT-JUNK is on there, and a whole bunch of other interesting folks who kind of talk about their story. I kind of mentioned some of the resource partners that we work with: KC SourceLink, KC BizCare, SCORE, Innovation Center, of course, KC, Porterhouse KC. So yeah, as I mentioned, if there is something that we can't do, we'll point you to the right organization. We have resource partner meetings that we go to at KC SourceLink, so we get to know all these folks in the community. We also will hold kind of like business fairs at our boot camps and that sort of thing. So a lot of times we're networking with other business organizations in the community, and so we know who else is out there and who might be better able to serve you. So like if you're looking for a commercial kitchen space, I point you to the Innovation Center, or if you're looking for help with networking, I might send you down to 1 Million Cups, something like that. So that's kind of how that works with the resource partners. A few upcoming events I wanted to point out. We have a business model canvas workshop on Wednesday, should say April 5th, at the Green Hills branch. That's our new branch in the Northland, just off of Berry Road and Green Hills Road. The business model canvas workshop is one of our most popular programs. It is taught by a woman named Kim Beers. She does classes for SCORE and GEW Week and all kinds of stuff. But that class kind of walks you through what the business model canvas is. Has anybody heard of the business model canvas? So it's kind of like the bullet point version of your business plan. That's how I usually describe it. It breaks the business down into these 9 core components, and you start with the problem that you're solving for your customer, which is kind of a shift in mindset for a lot of people who come into business for the first time. They want to jump to the product or service they're selling, and sort of the new way of thinking is to start with the problem that you're solving for your customer. And so Kim walks you through that canvas, starting with the problem you're addressing for your customer. Great class. Getting started with Google Business is another one that is pretty popular. Google Business Profile is kind of like the low-hanging fruit for getting your business out on the web. If you've ever seen those kind of directory things when you do a search for like, chiropractors near me, they're going to be up at the top in that directory profile. You can learn how to set one of those up Thursday, April 6th at our East Lee Summit branch. And then productivity tools for your business. That one is kind of a newer course. I don't know too much about it, but from what I understand, it's looking at tools to kind of help you optimize your email, your marketing tools for reaching out to customers like SurveyMonkey, that kind of thing. All kinds of different ways to kind of boost your productivity. And then lastly, our social media. So if you'd like to follow us, we are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And we do post our classes on there, so you can follow kind of what's coming up that way. Some of our classes are in branch, some of them are online. We're kind of moving more towards doing hybrid format, so basically every class will be both online and in person. So trying to kind of get more involvement and engagement with folks that way. So yeah, that was kind of my quick overview of what Square One does, but I'm definitely here to answer any questions that you might have. I know I kind of went through that material fast, so if you need me to repeat anything, I'm happy to do that too. Yeah.
I have a couple. Where is Square One located?
So my office is out of the Colburn Road branch in Lee Summit.
Okay. Secondly, you mentioned something about career services. Can you tell me more about that?
Sure, yeah. So the career services is something that's pretty new. It's only been around about a year. We have somebody on our team who is also a specialist who meets with folks one-on-one, and she can help with resume, or if you're looking to apply for jobs and you maybe haven't used Indeed before, or if you're wanting to maybe switch careers and you're not really sure what kind of career you want to get into. She has all kinds of resources, like the DeBruce Foundation has an Agilities assessment that she has a lot of folks do. So that's kind of a sample of the sort of things you can get help
Where
with.
is she located?
She's at Colburn Road as well,
Okay.
but she's also mobile, so she can meet at any of the branches.
What's her name?
Nita.
So if I'd like to talk to her, I just call Colburn Road.
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay.
Yeah.
You do an amazing array of services. What don't you do?
So what I don't do is provide too much in the way of strategizing or critiquing, or like I won't create the business plan for you. I'm not the type to. I always describe it as like I'm teaching people how to fish as opposed to giving them the fish. You know, the whole parable of that. But yeah, we try to do what traditional libraries do in terms of providing information to folks, but just kind of specialize it for the business community. So whereas there may be folks at the branches who could help a little bit with some of these business questions, they're not going to be as familiar with some of these specialized databases as I am, because I'm working with them day in and day out. So it's what a traditional library does, but just kind of boosted, if that explains it at all. So yeah, it's mostly helping people find information. If you're looking for something beyond that, it's probably a referral.
And what's the most popular database?
Yeah, it's a good question. So depends on the community. So I would say for like the average kind of like general user of the library who is interested in business topics, probably the Kansas City Star and the Kansas City Business Journal, because you can get that full text access to the most recent issues. But then, you know, for folks who are just wanting to kind of build on their business knowledge, probably LinkedIn Learning would be the best one. And then, yeah, there's all kinds of databases that you can follow your favorite publications. So, you know, if you like to read the Wall Street Journal every day, we have databases where you can go in and keep up with the most recent issues, or, you know, magazines like Fast Company or Forbes and Entrepreneur. So it kind of just depends on your interest. For the businesses that I meet with, probably the most used one. The database that's most used is Demographics Now. It's a database where you can look up the characteristics of who lives in an area, median income levels, people in different age ranges. It even has psychographic data that's kind of more about the mindset of the people in the area. So yeah, those are kind of the highlights.
What was that?
That one's Demographics Now.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are doing some programs with our survivors right now, workshops to how to, create a resume, business plan, things like that as well. Would love to collaborate. Do your grants allow you to travel to the Lee Summit location where our workshops are held at our campus?
As far as I know, yeah. I'm not super involved with the grant application or requirements, so I'm not aware of any restrictions, but it sounds like it would be something where we could partner with you. I'd probably put you in touch with Ann Wallace, who's our director, and she's the one who can kind of look back at the grant and see what we can and can't do. So, yeah.
How many people are on your staff? Square One?
So right now it is just 4 of us, but we are looking to add some more folks. We also have had some turnover, so a lot of the folks that some of you might have met have moved on to other roles. So right now it is me and our director, Nita, who's the career services person, and Elena, who's our social media person.
So if somebody comes into the chamber and starts asking us questions, can we refer them to any library, or do we need to refer them specifically to the Colburn Road Library?
You could refer them to any library, and any branch should know to point them towards Square One. If you wanted to have them reach out to Colburn Road too, that works. But we also have a direct line on our website if you want to just give them their phone number, or I have my card. You can hand a card. I can always send cards over here too. Yeah. Did you have a?
Yeah, so LinkedIn Learning has QuickBook classes.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what we use, and my wife and I we have somebody that can help us with it through our CPA, but to be able to go and learn more about it would be great. So
Yeah, that one I've heard is surprisingly confusing, and
there's a lot in there, yeah.
yeah,
And to be running our business with it, we really need to know it more.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, that would be a great way to use the LinkedIn Learning database. A lot of people use it for kind of those basic accounting stuff, because if you're a small business, you probably can't afford, or a super small business, you can't afford to hire out an accountant quite yet, and so you got to learn how to do some of that stuff yourself.
More questions for Kelly?
What's your contact information?
My email is khhead@mymcpl.org. I got my cards here too if you'd like one. I'm running out a little bit, so I don't know if I have one for everybody, but if you really want one, I've got one for you. But yeah, thank you so much for inviting me here, and if you have other questions, feel free to reach out.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.